Okay, guys, we're back for day 4. Today we're working on area of trapezoids, but first we got to begin with this warm-up. Just like the other days, we're going to do them together. If you need to pause it, pause it. So remember, area of a parallelogram is base times height, just like a rectangle. Rectangle is a parallelogram. But our base here is at 12 times our height, which is 6. 12 times 6 is 72 units squared. Over here, we see we have a rhombus. Rhombus's area is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. That was that special formula we had from yesterday's lesson, or the last lesson. I guess that would have been Friday. As you look at this, you see diagonal 1 is going to be 9 plus 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. And then diagonal 2 is 16 plus 16. 16 plus 16 is 32. So 1/2 of 18 is just 9. 9 times 32, you guys can pull out your cell phones, calculators, whatever you need to use. So we have 9 times 32, and I got 288 units squared. Okay. The next one, it says that the area of the parallelogram, so area is 27 square meters. Find the height. So we see we have a base of 3, and we're trying to find that height right here. So parallelogram equals area equals base times height. Our area is 27 meters squared equals my base of 3 meters. My height is h. I'm going to isolate that h. We're going to divide each side by 3 meters. How many meters do we have in the numerator? Well, we have 2 meters. So m squared. We're going to cancel our m's. So you have 1 m left in the numerator. 3 goes into 27 9 times. So you have 9 meters left. And last but not least, you're just given the word form of this. So a parallelogram has a height of 8 feet and an area of 96 feet squared. I can't see that little symbol, guys, because I'm not looking at this on a desktop. I'm using my iPad standalone, so I'm going to try my best to work it in at the bottom here where you guys can see it. So area equals base times height still, where our area is 96 feet squared equals my height of 8 feet times my base. I'm going to get our base by itself. I'm going to divide each side by 8 feet. Once again, you see that the foot in the denominator cancels with one of the feet in the numerator. And then you're left with just 8 goes into 96. 12 times 12 meters. Oh, 12 feet. Sorry, guys. That was a close one. Okay, so our warm-up is complete. We're going to switch slides. Today, you guys are doing 8.6, area of trapezoids. Your objective is to be able to calculate the area of a trapezoid. So here we have a picture of a trapezoid, and we want to identify the height of trapezoid ABCD. Well, here you see that the height would be this distance. It's what's forming that right angle between the bases. So a perpendicular line to the bases. And so we see that'd be AE. Remember, we put a line over it because it's a segment. And then it says identify the bases of the trapezoid. Well, the bases of this would be the two that are parallel to each other. That's that AB here. And DC. Once again, bases are parallel to each other. The height is that shortest distance, the perpendicular line that connects those. This one's a little bit longer of a formula, but the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. It does not matter which one's base 1 and which one's base 2, as long as the base is the ones parallel to each other, and then that height's that perpendicular line to those bases. Pause is needed to make sure that you guys are getting down what you need. I'm going to keep going. We have 7 examples in total today. I'm going to write that formula for area at the top. Area equals 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. So we see here that we have area equals 1/2. And then we have to look to see what my height is. In this example, the height is what's joining those bases. Again, that perpendicular line, which would be 10 centimeters in this case. times base 1. It does not matter which one you're picking. It just has to be one of the two parallels. So 15 centimeters plus 12 centimeters. We're going to combine like terms and do some order of operations here. So we see that 12 plus 15 is going to give me 27 centimeters. And we know that 1/2 of 10 is 5. So I end up with 5 centimeters times 27 centimeters. Let's see what that's going to be. Get out your calculator. 5 times 27. I arrived at 135 centimeters squared. Still area, so still make sure that unit is squared. Notice this is still trapezoid, but now it has been rotated. You're still using the exact same formula, but you notice your bases are these right here. They're the ones that are parallel to each other. So we have area equals 1/2. Your height would be that 7 inches. This connects those bases times 6 inches plus 10 inches. 6 plus 10 is going to give you 16 inches. We see that 8 goes in our 7. Nope, let's try it again. 1/2 goes into 16 8 times. So you end up with 7 inches times 8 inches. And 7 times 8 is 56 inches squared. And then we're on to our last one here. You notice the height now is occurring right here. So we have area equals 1/2, 8 yards. And then base 1 plus base 2, so 17 yards plus 11 yards. Gives me 1/2. We can do this again before I do that. 17 plus 11 gives me 28 yards. So we're going to do 1/2 of 8, which is 4. End up with 4 yards times 28 yards. 4 times 28 gives me 112 yards squared. Okay, again, I can't tell if it's underneath that symbol, so I'm going to write it up here. Let's try that again. A equals 112 yards squared. Just like in each of the other ones, this is the section where we get to go backwards. So here we're given the area and the bases, but we're trying to find the height. So we're going to substitute in. Based on space, I would like to do 4 up here. So I know that area equals 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. So I have 1/2 times my height, which I don't know, which is h. I know my area. I don't know why I skipped it, 18 meters squared. And then I have base 1 plus base 2. Well, base 1 plus base 2 is 7 meters plus 5 meters. 7 meters plus 5 meters is 12 meters. So I can rewrite this as 18 meters squared equals 1/2 times 12 meters times my height. 12 goes into, or 1/2 goes into 12 6 times. So I now am going to move this over this way. I end up with 18 meters squared equals 6 meters times h. To get that height by itself, which is what I'm looking for, I'm going to divide each side by 6 meters. 6 goes into 18 3 times. So we end up with 3 meters as my height. Okay. The next one's a little trickier because we're missing just one of the bases now. So you're using that same formula. So that formula is that area equals 1/2 height base 1 plus base 2. Well, we know our area is 342 yards squared. 1/2, my height is 12 yards. And then this is the important part. Make sure you keep your parentheses here. Base 1 plus 31 yards. You see that 1/2 times 12 is 6. So you have 342 yards squared equals 6 yards times base 1 plus base 2, which is 31 yards. And now you have two options. Option 1, you divide 6 over to the other side to isolate the stuff that's being added together. Option 2 is you're distributing that 6. So I like the option of dividing it over. We see they're being multiplied. I'm going to divide over 6 yards. I have to get my calculator out again. So you have 342 divided by 6 gives me 57. So I have 57 equals B1 plus, I should put yards, B1 plus 31 yards. And then now you just have a subtraction problem. Subtract over 31 yards. And you're left with 26 yards for base 1. Now again, you don't have to see this, but I'm going to pick back up right here. Your option 2. So, 2 would have been to distribute that through. So you would have 342 yards squared equals, you distribute it 6 times B1 and then 6 times 31. Well, 6 times 31 is 186. Subtract over the 186. I arrive with 156 yards equals 6B1 divided by 6. And we arrive at that same answer of 26 yards. Either option works mathematically. This one says find the height of the trapezoid using the Pythagorean theorem, then find the area of the trapezoid. So we want to find this area using Pythagorean theorem. This is your best friend from a while ago. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, c squared is the hypotenuse, the side across from the right angle. The other two don't matter how we call them. So to find h, we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, we know c squared is going to be 15 squared. I'm going to let a be 9. I'm going to let b be h. I know that 9 squared is 81 plus h squared equals 15 squared should be 225 if my memory serves correctly. We're going to subtract over 81. Okay, so let me look at my calculator. I get 225 minus 81. That gives me h squared equals 144. To get our answer, we got to square root both sides. H equals 12. So I know, based on Pythagorean theorem, that this height is 12. And now we get to use our formula. So area equals 1/2 height of 12, and then base 1 plus base 2. Base 1 is 20. Base 2 would be 9 plus 22, which would be 9 plus 22, 31. Okay, half of 12. Half of 12 is 6. So you end up with 6 times 31 plus 20, which would be 51. So 51 times 6, 306, 306. No units, so we could write unit squared. Okay, nice job. Okay, so our last example for today also says find the height of the trapezoid using the Pythagorean theorem and then find the area of the trapezoid. So once again, we're doing the same thing. We have to find the height of this triangle. You got to use that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, the only one that really matters is the c. It has to be across from that right angle. So we end up with 18 squared plus h squared equals 30 squared. 18 squared, 18 times 18 is 324 plus h squared equals 30 squared. 30 squared is 900. We subtract over the 3 124. So we subtract over that. You end up with h squared equals 567. We want to get h by itself. We square root both sides. H equals 24. But that's not what the question's asking for. It wants the area. Area equals 1/2 height, base 1 plus base 2, equals 1/2. My height here is what I just found, 24. Base 1 is going to be 34. Base 2 is this whole length. This would be 25 plus 18. So 18 plus 25. So what is 18 plus 25? 18 plus 25 gives me 43. So I'm left with 1/2 times 24 plus, or times 43 plus 34, which is 77. We know that half of 24 is 12, and 12 times 77 is 924. Okay, again, we don't know what it is, so it's going to be units squared. Okay, that's the end of our lesson for today. Good luck, guys. Please stay safe. Make sure you're washing your hands. Email me with questions, thoughts, comments. Miss you guys.